Everybody, welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species, and very special, and I'm just not going to take a lot of time because I'm with John Maldjian, uh, um, an intellectual property lawyer, and he's got so much to say. Uh, and I do this because I remember there was a show called Candid Camera, and the theory of candid camera when you least expect it. And that's how John and I got involved. When you least expect it, you're going to need intellectual property. So, John, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself, a little bio, and then we'll kind of jump into this. It's so important today.
Great. Hey, thanks, Calvin. I appreciate the intro, and I appreciate being on your show. This is a wonderful experience, and I look forward to talking to you about intellectual property law. So I'm John Maldjian. I'm born and raised in New Jersey, grew up in Interlake in New Jersey. I attended proudly Rutgers University College of Engineering with a BS in electrical engineering, 1988 grad. I then worked as an engineer for a couple of years for the Department of Defense, and then went on to law school at the Franklin Pierce Law Center, now known as University of New Hampshire Law School. Since then, I've been practicing intellectual property law exclusively since 1995, so I've been doing it for about 25 years now, and I love it. Intellectual property is generally patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, unfair competition, things like that.
Okay. So the actual title of this we have hammered out is why, quote, fledgling sustainability startups need an intellectual property IP strategy. Taking that title now, so when did sustainability and environmental issues become important to you?
I would say as early as I can remember. As a child, I grew up, my parents, my father was a product of the Depression era, so he conserved by necessity. So we didn't even realize that we were reducing, reusing, and recycling before it became, modern and commonplace. We just did that as a normal course to get by, and so I learned to, not waste. Later on in my life, I noticed the need for alternative forms of energy, how solar energy really impressed me, wind energy, geothermal. In fact, my 8th grade science project was on solar energy. 1980, I put together a kit with I got a solar panel.
Wow.
Had a little spotlight on it and made it run a fan and a little propeller on it to show how you could create energy just from light. And I thought that was fascinating. And then as I moved on in college as an engineer, I realized the ability to use the earth in a good way or to abuse the earth. And I chose to, not abuse the earth. There's a lot of ways in engineering that you could blow through a lot of resources, and I chose not to do that. I chose to go the path of finding ways to work with nature and still have, technology. And then, of course, as a lawyer, I realized I could have an impact by helping those in the field of sustainability get their patents allowed and make for a very economically feasible business in sustainable technologies.
How propitious, we're talking about that because this morning I came from my township and I signed an oath of office for the Environmental Commission.
Great.
Congrats. So how perfectly. So what mistake do some of your startup clients make, and obviously how can they be prevented?
Yeah, so I don't know if I would necessarily couch them as mistakes as maybe not appreciating what they have, right? So a lot of startups, as you can imagine, start with a great idea. And then they immediately jump into how are we going to produce this product or this service. Say it's something on the web or an app, a new app. So they're providing a service or a process. But if it's a product or a service, they're concentrating on building it, whether it's through software coding or through building a prototype. And they oftentimes forget that what they've created, this new idea, might be inventive enough so that they might be entitled to a patent in the United States and outside the United States. And so one of the things I think they miss out on, and if you want to call it a mistake, is they forget that along with the product or the process itself, there's intellectual property asset surrounding that, which they could capture and put themselves in a great position, especially when they're starting out. They want to identify themselves in the industry and distinguish themselves and have proprietariness. And the best way to do it is protecting their invention and their other intellectual property through patents, trademarks, and copyrights.
Okay. What is your big picture outlook? I have to unpack this the right way with regard to emerging markets, seeking solutions to the growing, so many environmental problems today.
My big picture outlook is keep pushing. You know, as our football coach says, keep chopping. So, you know, I would suggest that anyone who believes in protecting the environment, but also wants to make a business out of it, it's possible these days.
Okay.
You know, we're now in a situation where solar energy and wind energy and geothermal energy and other types of alternative forms of sustainability, not only in the energy space, but in other areas, water conservation, for instance, they are getting in line with the pricing of oil, gas, and other non-sustainability energy type technologies or sustainability technologies. So it's now economically feasible to get out there and kind of do the right thing. And it doesn't displace necessarily those fossil fuel ways of producing energy or those other maybe not such great ways of doing things, but it's a way to start. And I would suggest the big picture is get out there, do it, and try to protect your invention, your ideas, your trademarks, your copyrights, so that you can have a sustainable company with sustainable products and services.
Okay. A little off topic here.
Yeah.
Off topic. So, John Maldjian, let's say, excluding family and friends, who would you like to be stuck with, living or dead, in a room during the pandemic for a day? Excluding family and friends.
One or two people.
Who'd you like to be stuck with?
I'd like to be stuck with Albert Einstein and John Lennon.
Perfect. 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 It's funny you said Einstein, you know, because that's what's been sitting over my desk. We can talk about that some other time. So moving back, great answers. Great answers. What is Maldjian Law Group's specialty and quote preferred client?
That's a great question, Calvin. You know, our firm again specializes in intellectual property. So our specialty is helping people with their patents, their trademarks, their copyrights, getting them recognized, harvesting the inventions, procuring the patents and trademarks and the copyrights, and then helping our clients realize the value in those and using them as true business assets. So, you know, we like to specialize in people who have a business, at least a startup, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies that do appreciate the value of intellectual property. We're here to help enhance that bottom line. And so our technology specialties run the gamut. We do electrical, mechanical, software, telecommunications, plastics, adhesives, nutraceuticals, biology, you name it. We'll do it all. And you know, every one of our folks have an engineering or science background in order to be able to shop with inventors on those technical subjects.
You know, I studied and I was so amazed at the bios of your attorneys in so many, you know, they come from so many different persuasions before law, which I find remarkable, which is a little bit of a segue. What makes Maldjian Law Group different from other IP firms?
That's a good question. We like to distinguish ourselves by looking at the whole picture. We're holistically review our clients' businesses. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but we truly sit back and start from what is the business that you're involved in and how can we help that business? Because I always like to say to clients, we are merely patent attorneys.
And
we're merely
I'm going to jump in now because we are out of time.
Okay.
And we've talked about this beforehand. Would love you to come back. There's so much more we can be doing, and we will, because I find you guys amazing. So thank you for this, John.
Absolutely.